One.
Hey, Amanda,
Yeah?
what time is it?
5 o'clock.
What's that mean?
5 o'clock show with Coffee with Chris.
5 o'clock club. It's been so long you couldn't even remember the name. It's been that long. Guess what? We're back. The Rittenhouse Square Fine Art Show 5 o'clock club is back. And we are on fire. I'll tell you what, we are so excited to start this new season. We are so excited to get some new artists, see some new process, and have some new interviews because we have a bit of a new format this year. We are going to go twice a month. We're going to do a 5 o'clock club demonstration on Facebook on that second Thursday, I believe it's going to be. And then later in the month is going to be an Instagram TV live interview with somebody. So in a couple weeks, we will be interviewing Executive Director Steve Oliver and his thoughts on what the customers and patrons can expect at this June's show. What show am I talking about, Amanda?
The Rittenhouse Square Fine Art Show.
You excited?
Yeah.
June 3, 4, 5?
In the park.
In the park. Those of you who know me, hello. I don't know how you don't know me at this point. Those of you who do not know me, my name is Chris Buonomo. I am a full-time artist. I am a sculptor and a painter. I am a very proud member of the board of directors for the Rittenhouse Square Fine Art Show. 95th year. Oldest fine art show in America and voted by artists the what number?
Number one.
Number one show in the country during the pandemic, right before the pandemic. You can tell I'm a carver because we always have these things going on. So, and that's what I want to talk to you about today. We are going to talk about a little bit of what it's like to be an artist who works in a reductive method, a carver, so to speak. So I have been carving for, I first started carving when I was 17 or so, maybe 18. So 32, 33 years I have been banging on rocks, banging on wood, and just creating a big old mess. So I do work in marble, I do work in wood. Today we're primarily going to talk about wood. Here's a piece of marble right here. This is what that raw marble looks like when I'm getting ready. You can see stacks of marble back behind there. That will all be sculptures one day. But today's going to be a little bit more about wood because there are very few, and actually, hold on. I do have my coffee, which is an absolute requirement. So I want to say hello to anybody. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to leave them, and Amanda will read them to me because she is my co-pilot and she is an awesome videographer for me. There aren't a lot of sculptors who carve wood and carve marble because they're very different processes to do both. Different sets of chisels, different techniques, different mindset completely. So I pulled out some of my wood chisels that we're going to look at real quick first. Okay, so this is a pretty good variety of the wood chisels that I use. And what you'll notice is that there are many different shapes, many different sizes, because they have many different uses. And you might ask, oh, you have them in these nice pouches, why do you still have them in these plastic sleeves? Because they're really, really expensive. So the better protected they can be, the better. Because you take a chisel like this, which you can see has obviously gotten work, but just that one chisel is about $140 just for that one. So you really want to take care of them because you take care of them, they will take care of you. And the one thing is, they will last a lifetime if you take care of them. So, don't worry about it. You got some notifications about how wonderful a show this is on Amanda's phone. Like anything, you have your favorites. So even though you have this huge variety, on any given carving, I might really use 5 or 6 chisels that tend to be my favorite. This is one of my favorites right here. Again, you can tell how much use they get, the dirtier they are, and you can see just been resharpened. This type of chisel is called a fishtail, which is pretty cool because it looks like a fishtail. You know, you can kind of see the new to the used. You can see how they kind of wear a little bit. But I'm constantly sharpening and taking care of my chisels. I have different size fishtails. That's a chisel you use a lot. You'll use these corner chisels, these deep V chisels, you use quite a bit as well. And then a gouge like this you will use quite a bit as well. The gouges help you get in and come back. But there are more specific types of chisels that you might not use every day, but if you don't have them, you really know you miss having them. And that would be a chisel like this. This chisel is called the back bend. It's actually sharp on the opposite side, and it's for carving down around. So sometimes a regular chisel, you can't get that reach that you can get with a back bend chisel. Actually, the names of them are all pretty cool. I will say that this guy here, and this guy here, and this guy, these three chisels, these three here, 1, 2, 3, have been with me since my sophomore year of college. So again, these were my, and more likely than not, I signed them out of the shop in school and never returned them. That was probably how I obtained them, but you know, I think the statute of limitations is over on that. Man, any questions?
No.
No, okay.
Oh, no questions yet, but some hellos.
Oh, hello to everybody.
Sharon and Robert Rankin.
Okay, so here we go. I use wooden mallets. Wooden mallets for wooden chisels. Why? Because wood on wood. If you use metal onto wood, you're going to destroy your wood ends constantly. This mallet here is a very special mallet for me. Those of you who know, when I was 27, I had the opportunity to go to Prague and do an apprenticeship with a master stone carver in Prague. He spoke very little English, so I had to learn a fair amount of Czech to speak with him. I taught him English, he taught me to carve, and then we developed our own relationship, which I was called Czechlish, because we were the only two that could understand it. This was the gift he gave me. You always gave your student a gift when they started an apprenticeship with you. So this is the gift he gave me. I've been carving with this since Prague, and this has a very special place in my heart. So, little cool story. Okay, so now you have chisels. Now you have an idea of the types of chisels. Now you have to decide what you're going to carve. Now, there are so many different types of sculptures. You could do wall work. You could do freestanding work. You can do it's endless the types of things you can make. And then where you get your wood can be just as varied. So one of the things that I do is I source my wood in various ways. So we'll start right here next to Amanda. Okay, let's give a little pan. Here's a couple pieces of wood that I've had. When I have pieces of wood that I procured myself, I need to let them dry for quite a while. So I might have them for a year or two before I even get into them. I can get them from, there's a piece I was just kind of chopping in, because with these types of pieces, you don't know what you're going to get inside of them. A lot of times you'll have to dig. I can already tell there's going to be a big crack down through here, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. It just means, okay, compositionally, I have to adjust off of here. This is a piece I was given from a neighbor. Here's a piece of driftwood that we carried out of Lake Superior in the Upper Peninsula in Michigan.
How often do you sharpen your tools?
Okay, so I will sharpen my tools. What I will do is I will run through most of the chisels that I'm using, and about once a week I will spend a good 3-4 hours and resharpen all those chisels. So you have to be in that right mindset, because you can't rush it. You have to, man, I made a pan there. I'm going to grab something real quick, just show the, So you can't rush. And the stones are pieces of art in themselves. So these are called wet stones. So these are stones that I would put in water, that came from Japan. I would put in water and let them soak for about a half hour and get very saturated. And then you're still constantly working wet with the water, and you're going to use this. Now, a nice thing about these type of stones is these are very good stones to help you with some of the different shapes that you have. You can't rush sharpening the stones. It is something that, and then actually this is a strap. The strap is for after you sharpen. That will help hone the edge, the leather strap, the edge of the leather strap. There are a couple more stones. These are oil stones in here. So these are water stones. These are oil stones. Now these are flats. We'll tend to do more flat work with these. And even this one, you can see I've used it so long. You work some shaping into it.
Now, are some chisels just for wood and some for stone, or do they?
I use completely different sets of chisels for stone and for wood. Stone chisels do not nearly have to be sharp like wood chisels do. Stone chisels are, in essence, you're more pulverizing stone than actually carving it. Carving it's a bit of a misnomer. You're crushing it, you're pulverizing it, you're kind of it's a very aggressive, forceful occupation to carve the stone. The only thing that will transfer is some of the files. Some of these really nice Italian files, I can use them on marble and on wood both. Again, these are expensive as well. So, it's one of those things that you can buy cheaper, but buying better in the long run is a much better option. So it's worth spending the money up front. And actually, you only need a couple chisels to start. You start with a flat chisel, maybe one fishtail and one corner chisel, and you can do magnificent things through that. So, good questions though. But you have to be in the right mindset to sharpen the chisels.
What's your favorite wood to carve, and do you have an idea of your composition ahead of time based on the shape of the wood, or does the idea have a progress as you carve?
Okay. The favorite wood we're going to get to in a few minutes. The composition, it's twofold. I work both ways. I will look at a piece of wood, like maybe I'll sit and look at this, and I'll sit in the morning and I'll be drinking coffee, and I'll spend a few hours, a few days, could be a week, could be 6 months looking at a piece before finally I decide what's going to happen compositionally. Other pieces, I will know what I want to do with that piece, and I will put my idea into that piece. So sometimes it's more collaborative, sometimes I want to execute with my idea into a certain piece. Now, when you have the found woods, sometimes I don't know what the wood is right away, especially with wood like this driftwood. So you have to do a little bit of exploratory carving to see what you're working with. I just usually take a couple notches out. I already can tell whatever tree this is. It's a fast-growing tree. It's obviously going to be light. It wasn't too hard. It was actually a nice density. This is a hardwood. I don't have no idea yet what this is, but that's the color of the wood. So we're into a much darker wood here. Now the trick is when you get a great piece of driftwood like this, you don't want to lose the beautiful driftwoodness of it. So that's when you really have to compositionally decide. That's where you work together. What are we going to make with this? Now here's something really interesting. This is a piece of red maple. It's from the root of a red maple tree. And it's a really cool piece of wood. It's from that root flare. And I just wanted to show you what it looked like raw, and then what another piece that came out of this same area looked like finish. So here's a sculpture I'm working on. This is a sculpture I made about 2 years ago, but I needed to resculpt it. There was something on it that I wanted to change. And if you know me, you know I like to do pieces where I integrate marble and the wood together. This wood and that wood are the same. So it shows you how different the wood becomes as it gets carved. You have to have vision of being able to see an idea. You have to see things inside of the wood. So again, this is red maple, and this is from that root flare of the maple tree. But it looks really nice. And if you saw pictures of the original, this sculpture I'm so glad I came back into it because I think it's really a much stronger sculpture. So these are found pieces. Here's another found piece. Here's a piece I'm just starting on now. This is silver maple. Now this is end grain. So this is cross-cut across the tree. This is end grain as well here, where you can see it's a cross-section through the tree. End grain is very hard to carve. It's very dense to carve end grain, and it takes a lot of work, very, very sharp chisels, and a lot of physical activity to carve the end grains. But again, you can see, actually, you always can tell if it's straight grain or end grain by the way the pattern is of the tree. So this is also found, and here are a couple more of those like that. Those are all end grain of the silver maple. So again, you see how much different as you start to carve, the color changes, the look of the wood changes. And again, you have to have that kind of vision and that idea. So, those are woods that I procure myself, or through friends, or trees I've taken down that have died. A lot of them are trees from my property. The other way that I get wood is I use a local sawmill close to me, and he cuts live edge slabs for me, because I don't have the ability to do that. So I pulled a couple of blanks that I have here out. So, what we have here, we have a piece of cherry, a piece of black walnut, a piece of sassafras, and this is a piece I got in Florida, and this is red oak, because I did a commission in Florida. I had to get the wood in Florida, and this wood is so hard and so heavy. Just lifting that one piece, it's like a rock.
Robert wants to know how you attach the marble to the wood for security.
All right, we'll go back here. Yeah, now, don't give all my tricks away. So this is between us, bro. What I do is I line up, and I drill and pin them. So I drill and pin them. Big pieces like this, I don't permanently attach, because if I have to ship it or if somebody wants to move it, it's much easier. Smaller pieces, I will pin them and permanently epoxy them. But it is the easiest, most convenient way to do those connections that I have found. The trick is, getting the lineup right. That's where you got 30 years of brilliance and expertise in there. So this is a black walnut as well. So that's another piece of black walnut. So those are what the blanks look like as I get them. But again, you have to have vision, because you don't necessarily know what you're going to get. So I brought a couple finished pieces in some of these woods so we can see the difference from the uncarved to the carved. First pieces I'm going to bring out are two pieces of black walnut carvings. Now these came out of the same piece. Okay, so those are two floral black walnut carvings.
So I have all three in the...
Oh, there you go. So yeah, so here's the original black walnut that I get. And then, now what the black walnut does is really cool, and we're going to talk about this even more in another piece, is this outer light band. That is called the sapwood. All woods have it, but some woods don't have a color distinction between the sapwood and the interior heartwood. Black walnut is one. But again, you can see how the colors change as you get into it. So these were just two black walnut carvings, my calla lilies and daisy. All right. The black walnut is one of my favorite woods to work with, so that's up there. That's one of them. Now, stay there. I'm going to come over.
Oh, you're coming?
Now, what I'm bringing over here are two pieces of sassafras. These I'm going to put right on the ground.
That's sassafras.
Okay.
Uncut.
So that is a sassafras blank there. I get a lot of ovals in the sassafras. So here are two sassafras pieces that I carved.
Seraphina.
Seraphim and rhythm in 2 parts. Now, this is what's interesting. I don't add color to my wood. The color it is the natural color of the wood. I don't know, when I get a blank, what the exact color of that sassafras will be. Sassafras trees can be vastly different depending on the area they grow in. The soil content, how much iron's in the soil, what some of the other nutrients are will change the color of the sassafras wood.
Interesting.
Now, sassafras wood is another fast grower, and if you can see that these aren't exact cross grain, but these are actually like a 45-degree grain. So they're very tricky to carve because when you have the grain working this way, sections want to fall off if you're not really, really careful. It's a very stringy wood to carve. It can be very tricky, and it's a lot of work, and it's a slow wood. But it's really cool, and it's the only wood that I get these oval shapes. So that's a pretty cool thing. So all these woods that I have shown you so far are all woods, except for that red oak, which I think we do have red oak here, but that one I did get at a mill in Florida. These are all woods that are local to the Philadelphia region. I've really tried to stay with locally sourced wood, but during my show season in Florida, even though I brought wood, I used up what I had, and I was short. So I had to go to a mill, and Florida does not have great wood like we have here.
Because it's Florida.
What's that?
Because it's Florida.
Because it's Florida. Hey, Florida's a great place. What are you snorking at?
If you're an orange tree.
If you're an orange tree. Okay, so I bought a piece of wood in Florida that I'm going to show you now that actually was imported from Costa Rica. It is a wood that is a sustainably sourced wood. They grow them to farm them, so I didn't feel bad. It's not. I'm not chopping down the rainforest for one of my sculptures. What time we got? I just want to make sure we're doing okay on time.
5:23.
Okay, 5:23. So, all right. So, any more questions?
Is it easier to sell wall hanging sculptures as opposed to freestanding?
Yes. Yes and yes. That is why I do a lot of wall sculpture now. There's a weird mentality that people have. They feel the need, what I've learned, is they feel the need to cover walls. They don't feel the need to put freestanding sculpture in their house. They have to be educated, a lot of people, to understand how to decorate with freestanding sculpture. It's not something they've grown up with, a lot of people, but everybody wants to cover walls. That's why IKEA sells pictures and Marshall sells pictures, because people they don't like blank walls. So for me, that was a decision I made. How am I going to reach an audience that I have neglected in the past? And the wall work has been very good for that.
All right. Does the cross hatching indicate where you're going to make your first cut?
The cross hatching indicates what I'm going to remove. So, when I draw them out, the cross hatching is telling me where I want to take the wood out completely. So that is my my blueprint for while I'm working. Okay, so I'm going to bring this over.
Okay. You line that up. I'll look at some wood.
Yep. Keep looking at some wood.
Be careful.
Yep.
What are you going to put it on?
Okay. Beauty of the sandbags. Okay. All right. that's a rough approximation of how it fits. This is that wood I was talking about from South America. This is a wood called Perota, the P, Perota. It was a really beautiful piece of wood to work with. They use it quite a bit for live edge cables, when you see like river cables and things like that. This is one of the woods they use quite a bit for that. Now, I'm going to show you a couple things on here. So I was talking about the sapwood on the black walnut. This shows it as well as you can see it. Where that color changes, that is the sapwood. Now, that's an indicator of a tropical species of wood, because the amount of moisture that these trees deal with compared to trees here is huge. You know, this is kind of a rainforest type of wood. Now, what the sapwood is it is the moisture highway of the tree. Those roots collect all the water nutrients, and they're running it up to the foliage of the tree, and they run up the outside of the tree, up through the sapwood. So, being a tropical species, you have a really wide band of sapwood. It's a fairly fast-growing tree as well. Now, one of the cool things about this wood, not only is the color distinction tremendous, the graining in it is beautiful, that caramel color is really beautiful, but you can see the amount of wormwood, the amount of wormholes in here, insect holes. Now the funny thing is, when you look at all, which is beautiful and it makes the tree in my mind, but what's funny is worms stop. They get into the heartwood and they're like, oh hell no, this is too much work. This is too dry, too much work, turn around. So they really only attack that sapwood, and then they get just into that start of the heartwood and they turn around and they're done. So I just find it so funny. You can like see the mentality of the insect. Like, okay, no. Back to the softwood. It was a beautiful wood to work with. I really enjoyed carving this. And it just has a really unique look. Now, one of the things you can notice is I really like carvings that are smooth. I love smooth texture. But I also love texture as well. And so you'll see on a lot of my work, there'll be vast areas of chisel texture as well as the smooth. And I think that combination of different surfaces makes a really beautiful sculpture.
I'm having a hard time hearing.
Okay, well, you know, we have the we got the drag races going on. It's it's the 5:30 drag races in Mount Airy. But texture is a very important part of any sculpture. So how you leave texture, how you decide what areas need to be, in your mind, want to be smooth, what areas want to have a chiseled texture. Those are important parts of any piece. And yeah, so that's basically kind of some of the work that I do. I'll just show you something real quick, just to give you an idea of how hard this end grain is. Now this is a really sharp chisel. I'll grab two. And again, sandbags. Everything's on sandbags all the time. Okay, so now I am really walloping that. I'm using this because I have more leverage even. You can see how little wood is coming out on that, again, because it's the end grain. So end grain is what printers use quite a bit for printmaking, the end grain cuts, because they're really durable. And actually, I believe there are still one or two streets in Philadelphia from colonial time that were made out of end grain wood block, was the street before cobblestone. And those streets still exist because, again, that end grain is so incredibly hard. But you can just get an idea of how hard that wood is there. So,
How do you tell the time?
what's that?
How do you tell the time?
How do I tell the time? Well, there's a big hand and a little hand, and a
Not on phone, there ain't.
That's 5:30. All right. Let's see. Anybody have any questions they'd like to ask before I start wrapping this shindig up?
Oh, Sharon wants to know how you got that bandage on your finger.
All right. It's not nearly as cool as it looks. I was at ArtSphere, and I was in a rush to leave as fast as I could, and I was cutting zip ties down off the top of my tent, having a conversation with somebody, and not paying attention to what I was doing. And, yep. And it bled pretty much the whole way home. But now it stopped, so we're good. It's not really cool at all.
Someone said you have a lot of space in your studio, enough space to store 8,000 printed programs for the Rittenhouse Square Fine Art Show, June 3rd through the 5th, maybe.
Oh yeah, they're in the painting studio inside.
They are not in the studio.
They're in the hall.
They're in the foyer.
They are in the foyer. Now, one thing, and actually you can see some wood that I've seasoned over here. I am very fortunate to live in this part of the city.
Anne wants to know if you have pieces that you keep for yourself and you just can't part with.
Most of the pieces,
I'm sorry, Alan.
Most of the pieces I have are pieces that I have broken while I'm carving them or transporting them, that I will fix them but I won't sell them. They become mine or ours. They're part of the family. No, I don't. And the only reason I say this is I've been doing this long enough that it's very hard. That's a big step as an artist, is to learn to let go of your work. Young artists always want to keep everything. It is a very big step to make that leap to being willing to parting with work. That being said, I have a couple pieces that I put really high price tags on because I don't want to sell them. Mm-hmm. But if they do, I'm happy to sell them for that number. So,
someone asked, do computers play a role in your creative process, whether for design or now with 3D printing?
No, nope. The most computer use I get is at board meetings for the Rittenhouse Show.
When is that Rittenhouse Show again? What are the dates?
3rd, 4th, 5th. Where is it?
In the park, Rittenhouse Square.
No, 3rd, 4th, 5th. No, 3rd, 4th, 5th. I was looking at it's 3rd, 4th, 5th. My head is a buzz, and we're really excited. It's going to be a great show. The lineup this year for this June is spectacular. There are so many good artists, and it's really exciting. I was not at the September show because I had COVID, so this is actually my first show since the pandemic. And odds are you might see some of these pieces there. Every piece you've seen today is available, so if you don't want to take a chance of it disappearing in Connecticut in a couple weeks, then let me know. But again, I'm a very proud member of the Rittenhouse board. We work really hard to put a good show on for everybody. We are one of the only shows, and the reason I love this show so much, and it was important for me to be a part of, is I am a traditional hand carver. I work by hand, so I don't use computers. I do all my own design, all my own layout, all my own sanding and filing, all by myself with my hands, all 9.5 fingers going. The Rittenhouse Show is one of the only shows in the country that are originals only and fine arts only, no functional work. So there's no jewelry, there's no functional ceramic, there's no photography, there's no prints. Everything you buy at that show is an original piece of art, and that is really cool. And there's work at all price points. There's something affordable for everybody. Amanda and I have bought work there. Mm-hmm. And I wish I could buy more. I would buy work from most everybody I see. But make sure you get down. It's a great show. Say hi to me, but say hi to all of us. And it's a great show.
People are saying good luck at the show.
Thank you, and we hope to see everybody. And I'll be back in a couple weeks. We'll be on Instagram TV. That's my truck, so don't mind. That's my big diesel truck. that it's either being stolen or my son is taking it. I'll be on in Instagram TV in a couple weeks with Steve Oliver, and we're going to get his thoughts on the show and all the great things that the patrons are going to see and get to do. So I want to thank you guys for watching. I want to thank the Rittenhouse board for putting a great show on, and I want to thank Amanda Buonomo for being a spectacular, super awesome director. Anything else to say, director?
That's all.
Folks. Say that's all, folks.
That's all, folks.
Bye, guys. Thanks.